thus far this chapter, we've been using the ideal gas law. And we said from the very outset that this was an approximation. And the two big approximations were we assumed that the molecules themselves didn't take up any space, and we assumed that the molecules didn't have any interactions with one another. And so what we're going to do here is talk about when those aren't good assumptions to make, and then look at one of the corrections that we can use to account for the behavior of real gases. So the assumptions of the ideal gas law generally work great under conditions that are relatively close to STP. So that's 1 atmosphere pressure and 273 Kelvin. We begin to observe non-ideal behavior, particularly at high pressures and at low temperatures. And so let's talk about why that is. So real gases do have volume, right? The molecules themselves do take up some space. As long as the molecules are relatively far apart and the total volume is big compared to the actual volume of the molecules, that may not be a problem. But it starts to become a problem at high pressures, right? So when I squeeze this gas down and I'm increasing the pressure and forcing these molecules to be closer together, well, now the volume of the molecules makes up an appreciable volume that is available to them. And so the assumption that the molecules themselves don't take up any space starts to break down. And here we can see right, the molar volume of the gas based on the pressure. And we have the ideal gas in red. And for real gases, right, they tend to be above the molar volume of an ideal gas. And they take up more space because the ideal gas, or the ideal gas law, doesn't take into account that the molecules actually have space. And under a given pressure, it's going to require more room for real gas because now we have to start taking into account the space that the molecules themselves will take up. Now, we can correct that by adding a small correction to the ideal gas law. And so this N is the same as the number of moles, and then the B is a correction factor that's specific to different gases. So different gases will take up different amounts of space. The molecules have different volumes, and so we have different correction factors for different gases. All right, the other assumption we make with the ideal gas law is that they don't have interactions between them. But in fact, that's not true. Real gases do have what we call intermolecular forces, or forces that exist between different molecules. And these are generally attractive forces. Now, as long as the temperature is close to 273 Kelvin, the molecules are moving relatively fast. And so they sort of whip by each other so quickly that they sort of don't have time to see these interactions. But as we lower the temperature, the molecules are moving more slowly. They have less energy. And so now these intermolecular forces, the attractions between them, become more significant. And they tend to feel these attractions more. And so if we look at the change as we decrease, if we look at the pressure as we decrease the temperature, we have the ideal gas again in red and an example of a real gas in green. And we can see the actual xenon molecules don't behave like ideal gases in the sense that they attract each other. And so the pressure actually is less for a real gas typically than an ideal gas. So to correct for that second feature, the fact that there are intermolecular forces, we add a second correction factor, where N is again the number of moles, V is still the volume, and A is a second correction factor. So this piece that we add to the pressure corrects for the fact that real molecules do have intermolecular forces, and then the first one we saw, this red correction, corrects for the fact that molecules do in fact have volumes. And of course, you don't have to have these memorized or anything, but this is just an example list of what the correction factors look like for some different gases. Now, I think it is still important to say that the van der Waals equation, which is the name we give to this equation with these correction factors, is itself still an approximation. And so we can go to even more complicated explanations and descriptions that are more accurate even than the van der Waals equation. And this is a common feature in chemistry. We often have multiple theories and laws that can explain given phenomenon. And generally, the simpler ones, the ones that are easier to use, are less accurate. But if they give us the accuracy that we need, there's no reason to go to the more complicated descriptions. But if we need more accurate results, we can go to the more complicated theories that may take longer or be harder to work with. But if the higher accuracy is needed, then it may be worth it. But again, if we don't need highly accurate results or the simpler models are doing a good enough job for us, then we'll usually go with the simpler models. And so this one video was mostly theory, but I have a second video. I will redo some equations with the ideal gas law and compare that to the van der Waals equation.